In this video, we're going to take a look at what's the best computer for DJing.
DJ Roubo.
So earlier this week, I got a question from someone that was asking me about what would be the best laptop or best computer for DJing. Now, when you say best, everything's always relative to how much do you want to spend, and I'm going to give you some different options. If money really isn't a huge factor and you can afford to go out and just get a laptop, then my suggestion would be to get a MacBook Pro. I'd get this guy. Apple products just work. They don't crash. They stay relevant longer. Apple, because they have smaller hardware specifications that they have to deal with, they're able to optimize their OS with the hardware. And yeah, I would just say if money is no object, then I would say get an Apple product. If you're going to get something that's used, I would try to say get something that's within the last 3 or 4 years. And at the end of this video, I'll give you some basic specifications that work for both Apple and Windows. One thing of note when it comes to Apple products, behind me is my iMac. This is a 2009 computer, and this is the best computer that I've ever had. Imagine a computer, what is it? It's almost 8 years old. That's still useful. The Apple keeps upgrading the OS every year. I'm able to do the install. It is starting to get a little bit long in the tooth in terms of ports. It only has a USB 2, so getting large files onto the computer is starting to get a little slow. It isn't designed for doing 8K or 4K rendering, so that's sort of a limitation. So it is starting to reach the end of life. But I use this computer every day. I think it's fantastic. I love the monitor. So I can't say that I've ever had a Windows machine that's lasted me as long as this guy right here. So you might be thinking, okay, well, I must just be an Apple fanboy. Not at all. Let's take a look at some Windows products. So this is a tablet that I purchased about 6 months ago. This is a Chewy High Pro 8-inch tablet. It is a combo Windows 10 / Android tablet, and I literally bought this to work with the NS7 and the Tractor S8. I figured because it already had a display and it just needed some basic processing power, that this is so super portable, I could plug this in and almost hide it and not have an issue. This guy, and this is a $100 tablet. It has 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's a 32 gig drive, of which it's split in half between Windows 10 and Android, so you get 16 gigs. I've tried this with both Serato and Tractor, and it almost works. If you're not throwing any super heavy effects, or you're trying to do 4 decks or things like that, this works. The main problem that I had with this is in terms of actually loading the songs off my hard drive, and there's a little slot here for an SD card. Like loading the actual songs is pretty painful. So I probably couldn't recommend this guy, but this almost works. So then what else is next? I bought this year too. This is a Surface Pro 2. Now, you might think, well, you know, they've just come out with Surface Pro 4, Surface Book, and a couple other, you know, variations of that. That is the highest end of the Surface Pro 2, and actually equals or betters the performance of a Surface Pro 3, with the exception that for that guy there, I only paid $300, and then maybe I spent about $50 on accessories. That is an i5 processor. It has 8 gigs of RAM, and it has a 512 SSD hard drive, which is huge for that for a tablet or even a laptop. So for $300, like, that thing is pretty much a steal. So I can recommend that if you're looking for something that's inexpensive. Again, I'll go through what I think are the major components that you need at the end, but that meets those specifications, and it does work well with Tractor and Serato. I haven't tried it with Rekordbox, and I would assume that works fine with Virtual DJ. Okay, this is my laptop that I've used. This was my primary laptop that I was using when I first started DJing. It is, because I haven't looked at this guy in a while, it's an HP 8440p. It is an i5 processor. It has 8 gigs of RAM. It only has 160 gigs of hard drive space, but it is SSD, so it's reasonably quick. You'll notice that in comparison to most of the laptops that you see today, I mean, it is, it's thick. It's not super thin. It's heavy. But it works. I don't, like, even today, if I wanted to plug this guy in and I wanted to DJ, this would be fine. You could probably pick up something like this for a couple $100. And this would, you know, you put Windows 10 on this guy, and this would serve you well. You know, I'll say one of the things that drives me crazy about the modern day laptops is they keep making everything thinner and thinner and thinner, which is fantastic, and they keep making it lighter and lighter, and that part's fantastic, but they also keep taking away ports. So consequently, you have this really nice light laptop, but in order to actually get any real functionality, you know, you have to get an extension, get a USB hub, and then plug everything in, get an external hard drive, because the internal drives are kind of tiny. So, you know, that's one thing to factor in. So, specifications. Minimally, I would say, if cost is a real factor, the main things that I would look for an i5 or an i7 processor. I would look for a laptop, and I'm making the assumption you're looking at laptops that are within the last 3 or 4 years, so anything that's sort of outside of that range is, I wouldn't purchase. I would want a minimum of 8 gigs of RAM. I would like to see a 256 gig SSD hard drive. Is honestly, for most of the stuff that we do, processing power is not usually an issue for, you know, basic stuff, unless you're rendering or doing some heavy task like that. You do want a decent amount of memory, which is why I'm recommending 8 gigs. But usually the thing that makes the computer painfully slow is the hard drive. And so if you can get a hard drive and make sure that it's SSD and minimally 256, then you're going to be in good shape. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you can afford a Mac, get a Mac. They're fantastic. Don't feel like I can't afford a Mac, so you're gonna get a Windows machine. Don't feel like you're being cheated out. Especially these days, Microsoft is doing some pretty amazing things. I really like Windows 10. And I would say on the Windows side, there's probably more advances happening with that than on the Apple side. However, for DJs, my recommendation would be to get a Mac if you can afford it. With that, I will say cheers. Catch up with you later.